And we are live. Wow, everything's working. Can't believe it. And we have a couple of things that you can circle the calendar on. I'm just waiting for the YouTube to start working on my end. Can you guys see if it's working on your end? Yes, it is. It's going live. Cool. All right. So we want to welcome everybody to the Monday Mastermind. And we've got a special guest with us today. So Katie's laughing because they've missed the last two hangouts because they've had some connection problems, and we completely understand that. So we just making big fun of Katie and Pops right now because they weren't able to make it the last two. And I'm saying how, what a burden it was for us to carry this weight, and poor Jamie on the other end had to fill in and talk for both Pops and Katie. But I'm sure he was just said, you went a bit bald, didn't you? There, Jamie?
Yeah, man, look at all the hair that fell out while I was covering for Katie 2 weeks. I had a full head of hair before she disappeared for 2 weeks, so. And look at all the gray hair that come in covering for her, too. Both sides. I never used to have all this gray hair.
Tell you what. It's just out of control. But
if we didn't razz Katie and Pops, they'd think we didn't love them anymore. So.
Yeah.
This is true.
We gotta love them. I mean, it's in the Bible, so we have to do it. So it's just one of those things. So I'm just kidding. Anyway, so everyone, we are so glad that you have jumped on to be with us for this next hour or so. And I just want to see that Robert's in the comments. We've got Bob over there, and I'm sure other people are jumping on as well. If you are logged in, jump on and log in and say hello. We certainly want to give you a shout out and to let you know that we appreciate you, we value you, and weirdly enough, this hangout has a lot to do with that. So before we actually get into the subject, I want to bring in our special guest, Katie. Katie, how's it going with you? How have things been going? You had quite a tumultuous couple of weeks.
Yeah, we've had no internet. That's just the life of a traveler, I guess, and it's just a little frustrating because this is what I do. But we just kind of make it work, and sometimes we just can't make it, so we just have to read a book or something.
Yeah, well, I certainly know that feeling. I've had the power outages that have happened every now and then. I'll be sometimes during our hangout, and I remember Katie how do I end this thing? And then before it actually starts, my power went out, and apparently power's been going out across the States as well. People have been losing power. I know Chris Pies had a bit of issue with there, and then we had Pastor Jackie also was having her power went out. So it seems to be a thing right now. Maybe it's in fashion. Okay, so but seriously though, we're glad that everybody's here. And I forgot to ask. I just want to ask how Jamie's week has been. What you've been up to. I said I was quite tired. I've had a weird day. How has the week treated you, Jamie?
Oh, the weekend was pretty good. I was excited because we deer hunted all weekend. Everybody killed a deer in deer camp except for me, the old man. So it's kind of boohooed about that. My daughter got her first bow kill with a deer. Then her boyfriend got one, and then his little 13-year-old nephew got one, which was I was excited, because they all got it. I'm looking, for the right opportunity, and when the right opportunity happens, I'll get mine too. So Thursday I had a really good show, part 2 of the 6 Ghosts of Fear from Think and Grow Rich, Wonder Wit and myself, and we had a special guest, David Bryant, on there, and for both weeks, and we covered the 6 Growth of Fear, or 6 Ghost of Fear from Think and Grow Rich, chapter 15. And it was really good. And a lot of the fears we don't really see, we don't really, they don't really stand out to us until they're pointed right in your face. And you're like, man, I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of that. That bothers me. That bothers me, and so, that really went well. And there's a big questionnaire in the back of the book that you can go through and answer all the questions. We didn't go over all the questions because it took us 2 full webinars to cover all 6 fears plus a bonus 7th fear. And, I'm sure in the future, we'll do a webinar on here about fears, and maybe I'll bring some of them up then, and maybe I'll ask some of the questions that are in that list, because those questions are real eye openers. And if you can't answer your own questions about your own fears, then you need to work on yourself some more. That's where mindset comes in.
Absolutely. Sorry, I was trying to find the pause button on my end, and I think what we'll do is and this Katie wants to say something about her week. I know Katie's been going through a big change, and things have been happening all around her, and yeah, you want to talk a bit about that?
Well, just a little bit, I guess. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag or anything, but it's putting everything that I've learned in the last 5 years into a service that I could do for others. So it has a combination of a lot of what I've learned from Dave, and combination of what the marketplace is kind of looking for, and then in a combination of me putting my skills at work and getting people set up in the right direction, and kind of not only like learning, cutting that learning curve, but also cutting that time. And it's actually pretty cool. I'm actually working on my blog again. I'm always working on that thing anyways, but got new pictures that I'm putting up, and then continue to do the content and stuff like that. So I'm getting there. I'm finding my spot in this entrepreneur online space. So back to you in the studio.
Sure thing. And thanks. And I catch it, got it. All right. So I got the ball. I can speak now. I got the ball. I wanted to talk to everybody who is watching this right now, and you may see the title of the video called The Power of Self-Belief. And I've also spoken about this in terms of putting the brakes on your life and your business, but we're really talking about the subject of self-esteem. And self-esteem is an absolutely vital thing to everybody, I believe. And before you get to the conclusion or make up your own mind by saying, well, Dave, I already know about the subject, let me jump off now, I want to ask you to stop, and I want you to stick around, because what I'm about to say affects every single one of us. And even not everybody is perfect. We all have our flaws, and every single one of us are going to have problems in this area. And it also, most of us, what we will do is we will take this information and we will immediately think about everybody else around us who has a problem. Everybody else around us who has an issue. And so we want to think, oh, gee, if only they would do this. But what I want you to do today is I kind of want you to be a little bit introspective. I want you to look inside yourself and be completely honest with who you are. And I got to say that this is one of the hardest things that I had to do. Years ago, I actually went through this process of asking myself these questions, specifically regarding the one particular step that I'm going to be talking about in solving the issue of self-esteem. And honestly, I believe if you truly want to get to the bottom of this, you would do yourself a favor and you would go to your friends and family, people that you can trust, your partners, and you would ask them these questions and say, I really want you to be honest, and I want you to tell me if I fall in any of these categories, because we fool ourselves a lot of the time in thinking we don't have a problem. And the truth is that all of us have egos, all of us have problems, and all of us have things that we can work on. And this is what life is about. It's about learning how to cope with things. And I honestly believe that your business is a direct representation of who you are as an individual. So to give you an example, if you are a person who always wants to take, always wants to take, always wants to take, always wants to get all the time, and you're not a giver, what you're going to find in your business is that you're going to fall into the category of telling people that you can get their money all the time. So we see this all the time with people just spamming. And this doesn't mean to say that you are a selfish person. It just means to say that there are things in your life you need to work on. And you'll see what I mean when I get to step one, about how to actually reverse this process. But when we talk about self-esteem, when we talk about what it actually is, it really is about two things, all right? And the first is, and I've written this down so I don't lose my place, it's really about being able to cope in life, also about where you see yourself with regards to value. So do you have any, can you actually cope in life by yourself? Do you actually do that quite well? And do you see yourself as someone who's valuable? And if truth be told, most people don't. Most people really struggle with these two things. And the truth is that everybody has this problem. And if you are a person who doesn't know how to control your life, or you don't have any drive and you don't know which way to go, what's going to happen is that you are not going to be able to cope, and you are going to feel, and this is true because there are only two outcomes here, you're going to feel like a victim. You will feel like a victim. Okay? And the truth is that I know myself, I've been in that position where I have felt that everything around me is just going wrong. I am the person that I am the person who is the victim. I'm the one that needs somebody to help me. That's how I felt for years of my life. And the truth is that I've just been scared, and I have no direction. I didn't know how to cope in life. But it's only until you realize that you are indeed not the victim. Okay, the truth is that you are making yourself a pity party. And the other one is about self-worth. Okay, so self-worth, and this is where you feel that you have any value. All right, so do you actually see yourself as valuable? And once again, the truth be told, that because of the way that we've been brought up, because it does have an effect on especially when you're growing up between the ages of 3 and 7 and 12, in those age groups, you have everything around you. You become so influenced around your surroundings that you either feel that you are somebody who is not very valuable because your parents told you that, or friends told you that, or bullied you your entire life. And I got to say, I was bullied for most of my life in school. Most of my life, I was bullied in school. It's a real thing. It really upset me. I didn't want to go to school, and it's probably today part of the reason I hate school so much, because of that fact. But I have other reasons now to hate school, not just that. And the truth is that because I feel that way, I often feel like a doorstop. I feel like that I can be taken advantage of. In fact, it was so bad in my life at one stage that I had to go and see a psychologist. I had to work through the pain of realizing that I actually made myself a doorstop for people. Does that make sense to a lot of people? Do people resonate with that? I mean, when you get to a point in your life where you actually, for some reason, and I could never really understand why, but I felt like I had to be that person that would be treated badly for the sake of other people. And I somehow convince myself that that was the honorable thing to do. Does that resonate with anybody here? Because I suffered with depression for a long, long time in my life. And that's how I felt. Does anybody get that, who understand that? Jamie, I'm sure you've got something that you can add to this. If you're there, buddy.
Now, after covering, the six ghosts of fear, this what you're saying falls into the very first fear that we face, and that's fear of poverty. The symptoms are indifference, which you talked about a little bit, indecision, which you covered a little bit, doubt, worry, overcaution, and procrastination. And we all suffer from all these ailments because we fear, being in poverty, and we have a hard time making decisions and stuff because we're so programmed to have everybody think for us, because we go to a job and our boss thinks for us. They tell us what to do on a daily basis. And when we come into home business, we don't know what to do because we don't have nobody to tell us what to do. So these fears, hinder your progress, so, I mean, my opinion, it's a good study to look at these, look, especially what Dave was saying about indifference and indecision. I mean, lack of ambition is part of indifference, and a lot of us suffer from lack of ambition, and that could be because we're programmed to listen to someone, a boss, tell us what to do every day. So, I mean, that's kind of my thoughts on that, Dave.
Yeah, what I was talking about, the fact that in depression, when you feel like sometimes, because as I understand it, you had a quite a, your relationship with your dad was quite bad.
Yeah.
And the way that he treated you, and you felt like you weren't worth anything. You felt like you couldn't contribute anything of worth because of the way that you had been brought up.
Yeah, I mean, I was brought up like that. I mean, and being, it created a mindset block, because I always felt that I would never amount to anything because that's what he told me. So I struggled with that, and with that being a self-limiting belief, it helps you, or it doesn't help you. I mean, it brings in, the other things I was just talking about, your indifference and your indecision. You doubt your abilities that you can go out and do different things. You worry if you're doing the right things in your life, making the right decisions, going down the right path. If you get fired from a job, it just lowers your self-esteem so much more. Even if you got laid off from a job, I heard an audio the other day. It said, what really hurts you is when you work for one company for 18 years and you get called into the office and told, we don't need you no more. And that's something that a lot of people face, and that's why they come to this industry, because they feel like they're not worth anything. They can't even hold down a job because they just got laid off after 18 years. I can't do this, I can't do that. And it really plays with your mind, and that's why, we stress mindset all the time, because that's something that help you overcome these feelings of self-worth and self-doubt, so that a little better, Dave?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I know that, so the one thing I want to emphasize here is that even though, we grow up with this and it affects the way that we live, there is a point at which we've got to make a decision which way to go. We can either be a victim, or we can be somebody who decides our own fate. We can be somebody who decides where we want to go. We can either be a doorstop, or we can understand that we are worth something. And this is a very important point about self-esteem, that self-esteem is an internal issue. It's an internal issue that needs to be worked out. And the problem is that you've got to, and I'm going to be talking about this now. I'm going to be talking about, and this comes from my book called The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. And if you haven't got it, you can go and get it if you're really struggling with this issue, because I do believe it can help you. But here's the thing: when you understand, when you become conscious, and you get to a point where you can separate your experience from who you were to what you are now, and you can think about the way that you were acting and the way that you're acting now, that's when you can actually make a decision. Because I believe, like most people who believe that you can make a decision in an instant, you can change your mind incredibly quickly. I tell this story about a lady who was depressed. She's very upset, and she decides she wants to go and see a professional. So she goes and sees all these professionals. Nobody's helped her, nothing. And she decides she's going to see Tony Robbins. And she makes an appointment to go and see Tony Robbins. Now, the thing about Tony Robbins is he makes it almost impossible to see him. You've got to pay lots of money. There's a long period to wait. So it's like 6 months to a year. You're going to wait to actually see this person, to see him. And she finally pays all this money, and she gets her appointment. She walks into the office and she sits down. And as she sits down, she starts bawling her eyes out, crying. And Tony just says, "Wait, we haven't started yet." And she goes, "Oh, sorry." She composes herself back to what she was. And Tony says, "Do you see that? You made a decision in an instant to stop being depressed." And I'm not saying this as a joke. I'm not saying this as a quick fix. But ultimately, when we come to the realization that we have control over our own lives, that's when things start to change. And so I'm going to be talking about these 6 steps to reversing the effects of low self-esteem. And the first one is this. All right, it's very important you understand that this is probably the most important one out of the whole lot. And this is practice being conscious. Now, hear me out. I'm not saying practice being awake, all right? In one sense, I am saying that, but I'm saying practice being consciously thinking about what your actions and what you do and how it affects your lives. So I'll give you an example. When I used to work at a electronics company, I used to get up in the morning. I used to get dressed. In fact, when I worked in the UK, that's a good example. I was a security guard. I'd get up in the morning. Okay, you get up, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you shower, whatever. You get ready, you have your breakfast, and you start walking to work. And as you start walking, you're just listening to your music, and you carry on, and you go through your working day, and you come back home, and then you go to sleep, and you do the same thing again, and everything is a blur. Nothing is thought about. You don't think about how your day is going to be. You don't think about the impact you can have on other people. You don't think about the blessings that you actually have, the things that you're grateful for, the things that are around you. And this is the thing that you absolutely need to start working on. How you speak to people, how they take what you're saying. Is it affecting them in a positive or negative way? Did you greet everybody in the room? Were you thoughtful to somebody else when they had a birthday? Did you remember? That sort of thing. Practice being conscious in your surroundings. So I want to take it to Pops because I know he hasn't said anything yet, but I'm sure he's got something to say on the subject of being conscious and being awake, kind of being aware of your surroundings. I'm sure you've got something to say, Pops. And welcome.
And gratitude will help you do that a lot. Can you all hear me? I'm not sure if my thing was set up right. If you're practicing gratitude and you look around and see what you have, you're in the now. Like Dave said, you're conscious of your surroundings. You're conscious of what's going on around you. Excuse me, practicing gratitude all the time. Because actually, face it, I'm gratitude for everything that I have. I'm gratitude actually for even the bad crap that happened to me that robbed me of some of my self-esteem, because it taught me lessons along the way. And if I reflect on that, I don't allow it to bother me because I'm grateful for that happening. I'm grateful to the people that, actually I caused it, because we make our own realities. I drew that into my life somehow, some way. and I'm not even going to try to understand it. But I'm grateful for all of that because it puts me in a frame of mind where I'm aware of what I'm doing. I'm aware of what I'm thinking. I'm aware of what I plan on doing next, even though I don't know, we can't predict what we're actually going to do because we cannot hold two thoughts at the same time. And then that's being said, when you have the gratitude, it'll put you into the next frame of mind, into the now of what you have. And that is so key in being, like Dave said, in the present. Be present as much as you possibly can instead of going into the robot stage, where you said walking around in daze. You're kind of in a hypnotic state. And some of the influences of your past life, you're automatically doing some of that because it's like a robotic, hypnotic state that you're in, because that's how we learn. Age 1 through 7 is the most influential times of our lives because we're like a sponge sucking in all the stuff from our parents and relatives and neighbors, and then on into school and all the the people we couldn't get along with. It affects us and it takes away the self-esteem. But we are now, as adults, we have the tools that we can use. Dave's book, and even if you have a lot of self-esteem now, I encourage you to get that book because it'll get you to another step and it'll show you things and make you aware of things that you haven't thought of.
I kind of wonder, Pops, if this, being awake in your own state and realizing what's going around you, it also makes you aware of where your life is going. Like one of the reasons I could never hold a job down is because I always thought, do I want to be doing this for the rest of my life? Where am I going to be in 5 years' time? How's that actually going to affect me? I'm sure it makes people, it's kind of like plugging into the Matrix, I'm sure. If you've seen the movie, plug into the Matrix and really seeing what's going on. Instead of just
there's a guy that he's a physicist and he's into the Matrix thing. And I'm trying to think of his name offhand. At any rate, he calls the Matrix, the movie The Matrix, not just a movie, but a documentary. It's a documentary because the research that's coming about now shows that there is a matrix. There is an essence out there that affects all of us. It's not like dead space. And planning for your future or planning for your day will definitely put you on the road to accomplishing those things step by step. You can't just walk around being, like, well, I said, grateful and being in gratitude all the time. You still need to plan for the future, and you're going to have roads and waves and whatever. That just is natural because sometimes we get distracted, whatever. But Dave, you're right on point. The Matrix is real, and science is now catching up actually with the ancients. Jesus, Buddha, ancient civilizations all knew about this stuff. But science kind of, I don't know, we don't know what happened, but it all got into, well, this is baloney, how can this really be? But even today, even some of the old texts from ancient texts talk about this, and now science is starting to prove it, and it affects you.
Thanks, Pops. Appreciate that, man. I just I wanted to, Katie, do you want to say anything, or you're just listening right now? Or?
Well, I don't know if I could top that.
No, it's fine. We got 5 others to go through, so I just wanted to.
Yeah, keep going. Yep, keep going.
Okay, cool. So, this. So as long as you're taking that step of being conscious, being actually aware of everything around you, being grateful of what you have, and thinking about what could have been, and thinking into the future, and actually being conscious of that. If you can start doing that in your life, it's really going to change a lot of things for you. I believe it will do. And that'll put you into a much better position. Now, the second thing that you should be practicing, and this is important because I see so many people struggle with this very thing, and this is the practice of self-acceptance. So many people want to change things about themselves, for instance, that they cannot change. Oh, my hair is thinning. Oh, my hair is too scruffy. Why can't I change it to be like somebody else? And the problem with that is that you are never going to change things that you cannot change. I don't care who you are. It's not going to work out that way, right? You need to accept the things you cannot change. That sounds like something from Alcoholics Anonymous. What do they say? Accept the things you cannot change. And change things what? And what was the other one? You need to accept the things you cannot change. And then start to work on the things you can. No, it's fine. And start to work on the things, that you can change. And that means accepting. Yeah,
and the power to know the difference.
And the power to know the difference. That's right. That's exactly right. And I will say this: there were so many things about my life growing up that I wanted to change that I just couldn't. I couldn't. How could I wish to have? I mean, like, there were so many things that I would concentrate on. You know, I wanted to be I mean, look, if you want to be a better guitarist, you can practice. That's something you can work at. You know, but if you have no hair and you want hair, you can't change that. That's not who you are. Don't fight the things that you cannot change. And the problem is that in this industry, in our businesses, we see so many entrepreneurs that we want to be like. We want to be like Gary Vaynerchuk. We want to be like Ray Higdon. We want to be like Diane Hockman. We want to be like all of these characters where we think that if we had what they had, if we can be them, then we will have success. And I can tell you right now that Ray Higdon, Rob Ford, Diane Hockman are very different people, and they've come to in their own person. And that's who you have to be. You have to accept that part of yourself, meaning accepting flaws as well. All right. So here's a typical thing. When somebody points out your flaw and you get angry at that fact, that's a very good sign that you probably don't, that's a good sign that your self-esteem is quite low. I'll give you an example. Somebody said this to me the other day, and I told Katie this and she had a chuckle about it. But they were saying, you know, Dave, when I walk into a room, I notice everything. I can see everything that happens around me. When I walk into any environment, I'm very aware of what's going on. You walk into a room, and somebody could walk up and put a gun to your back, and you wouldn't know who it was. You wouldn't know anything. And while he's telling me this, I'm saying, "Oh, I'm waiting for the compliment. I'm waiting for the compliment." Or, and then and then when he finally finishes the actual statement, because it was meant that I kind of dig at me, I just said, "You know what? You're absolutely right." And that's true. If I'm driving my car, I am so focused. I am so targeted on where I want to go. You could be in the car next to me waving with the hooter on, and I still wouldn't see you. And they're like, "Gee, that Dave, he really isn't self-aware." And that's just part of who I am. I'm not the cleanest person in the world, and I accept that. I am who I am. And so this is a great thing, because it's great inspiration. Somebody once said to me years ago, "You know, Dave, the one thing I love about you is that you don't care. You don't care about the music that you love. It doesn't matter if it's some weird, funny band. If I like something, I love something. I don't care." And they pointed that out to me, and I was like, wow, that's a really good quality. And it inspired me. It inspired me to carry on doing that. So be happy with who you are. Don't try and be somebody else. You've got to accept yourself for who you are and your flaws. Maybe that's how we are who we are. I mean, I can't even say that more clearly than I can. Maybe somebody else on the panel can say it better. Come on.
One of the things that stuck out to me in practice of self-acceptance is we're afraid of our greatness. That's why we steer around it all the time. You know, we dodge it because we're afraid if we step into our power that we'll be recognized, and that's out of our comfort zone, so we don't do it. And it just, you know, I just pulled up the highlights and was reading through some of the highlights of your 6 pillars, and that stuck out to me. So
yeah, it's very true. I mean, that whole thing about what's the word? You can actually, because we have so much potential. Sometimes I am so enthusiastic about some things that I will get into a situation where I'll think, whoa, what the hell have I just stepped into? How can I handle this? And I get kind of frightened, but that's when we need to push ourselves forward. And this is all about building your self-esteem. So
I found that it was pretty effective. If somebody, like Dave was saying, if somebody calls you on something, and I have in the past said, "Oh yeah, I'll have to look that. I'll check that out. You might be right," and I honestly would take a look at it, and I would see if it would actually. If obviously somebody called me out for a reason, and that's fine, being myself. But again, some of the things from my past that I've learned, and we all are hypnotized to a certain degree. I'll look at it and see if it is actually serving me anymore, or if it is a detriment on how I present that. So it's a good idea, in my opinion, and what I've done is take a look at myself, and I can decide whether that's going to serve me or not, and I can eliminate it or keeping on with it, because it will serve me. And some of the people that call you on stuff, it's their infirmities that are drawing them to do that as well. So it's a good idea to check yourself, and you can decide whether they're right or they're on point, or if they're totally off base, and how you want to live your life.
yeah, I was just looking at, Melinda had a great post on those taps. She had this post about a faucet. If you guys call it a faucet, right? We call that a tap. And you're opening up the tap and it's filling all these cups up. And I'm looking at this post and I'm thinking it's a certain number. So I'm typing it in, and then I go back and I go, wait, hold on. And I look at it again and I'm thinking, no, I'm wrong. So I delete my comment and I put in another number. And then I figure, gee, I'm wrong again. So I delete my comment and I put in another number, and I delete, and I'm thinking, so this is what I mean about being conscious about what you're doing. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? What am I trying to prove here? Am I trying to just get the answer right so I can show people how smart I am? So I decided to just lay my cards out and say, gee, I changed my mind so many times. I think you're right. The answers, and I said the number. I don't want to give it away. But this is what I mean about accepting your limitations and understanding who you are as a person. It really is fine. Don't lie. Don't make up stuff. Don't pretend to be something you're not, because and we all fight with this every day. We try to convince people that we're funnier than we are, we're smarter than we are, we're serious than we are, we're focused than we are. And I mean, Katie is a great example of somebody who will freely admit that she has squirrel moments, that she will be talking and suddenly she'll see a Barbie doll and wonder where the heck, and then we come back to the conversation. And she'll freely admit that because she's being herself. And that's what people really enjoy about Katie, because she is self-accepting about who she is. Katie, you want to say something? I'm sure you want to say something. Please say something.
Yeah, I know, right? So I could defend myself. Barbie doll, that was good. Actually, it was really funny. Before we got on the show, my sister showed me a new toy that I'm going to buy for my niece for Christmas, and I'm definitely going to play with it and test it out and make sure it's child safe before I send it to them. Okay. And drive my dad nuts. No, seriously, I just want to play with it. I'll probably buy my own one. But anyways, no, you're right on. Something that I found out about myself, especially in this industry, is that you should be able to be yourself and not get judged. And I think that's the kind of the way the world is going on anyways, because there's a lot of strange people out there and they're not afraid. I mean, I remember being back in school days, like you didn't you were like the nerd was not the cool thing to be. It'd be like, you know, the preppy kid. But now it's like the weirdos are the cool ones. It's like, okay, where were you guys? Okay, the ones who loved the weirdos back then. Where were you back then? Because here we're the weirdos. Now everybody wants to be the weirdo. Like, that's the new cool thing. But I made it cool when it was like, you know, weird. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, so yeah, there's, especially being the only girl on this panel, you guys may not understand this, but I believe that us women have more of a battle going on. Just, you know, a lot to do with it is society that tells us what we should look like or not look like. And at the end of the day, I think it's a lot easier for me and my personality. I don't have to put too much work into a lot of stuff, and I'm comfortable with that. So, you know what I mean? So it's just, I don't have to pretend that I have to be somebody else or something. So it took me a while to figure that out and love my skin the way that I am. You know, love my skin and just being out there presenting my true authentic self is awesome. And I think that's important. Back to you in the studio.
It is. No, it is. It absolutely is important. And these things about, and I mean, I'm not saying that you have to now accept all the bad things about yourself in the sense that you can improve upon yourself, because remember, we're not advocating bad habits. All right, this is something that this actually comes up to my next point, and that is the practice of self-responsibility. All right, self-responsibility is really, really important. All right, you cannot, I mean, it covers a lot of facets in life about, you know, taking care of your finances, being healthy, eating the right things, looking after your skin, having a good environment where you can work in, that sort of thing. And if you're not taking responsibility, it's going to affect you. It will affect you. If you're living in swallow and filth and gunk and around you, it's going to have an effect on your life. That's a proven thing. If you don't go out and take a walk and see some sunshine, get some vitamin, you know, vitamin D in your skin, it's going to affect you. This is what people tell a lot of people if they're going overseas to Europe. A lot of South Africans get incredibly depressed over a long period of time because they don't look after themselves. They get into the slump and this wallow and the self-pity, and they, you know, and it's not good for you. You absolutely need to be looking after yourself. So you need to work on self-responsibility. All right, you have to do that. And you know, Teddy and Pops are just prime examples of that. Every time they talk to me, they're like, "We have to go for a walk now. We have to go for a walk now." While he's got his cigar in his mouth. You know, we have to go for a walk now, but that's a really good habit. That's something where it's self-responsibility. And these are all signs of people that have good self-esteem. And maybe as you're listening to this, you can put yourself and say on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, 1 being incredibly bad and 10 being off the chain hobo, off the chain, you know, ridiculous. What are you going to do about that? How are you going to work on that? And I've got a magic formula for you right at the end of this that's going to help you fast forward that process a lot quicker. So does anybody want to speak on that about self-responsibility, looking after yourself?
Yeah, I would like to. I'd like to break that down. In responsibility is actually 2 words that over time was combined into one. Response, ability. So it's your ability to respond to situations, and you can be aware of that and respond the way you should or the way you feel you should. So it's how you respond is important to your relationships and to your own self-esteem. You know, if you fly off the handle or something like that, of course that's going to affect everybody around you, especially yourself, because you're going to feel like bummed out because you were being an idiot or whatever it is. So responsibility is your response and how you're going to do it, how you respond, how your ability to respond in a right way that's going to be good for all situations for yourself and those around you.
Absolutely. And I just want to take a moment right now and be conscious of the people that are commenting. We have Shamana who's joined us, and we're so glad for you to be here with a Barbie doll comment. Maria, we got Robert. Who else is on here? Whoever else is not on here, you can comment and we'll say hello. Joe Wish is on here as well.
Yeah, Joe was in there.
Cool, awesome. We thank you, guys. We appreciate you. And I gotta be honest. Is one thing that I struggle with is the comment section. I'm very aware of that, and everybody knows that about me. And I try to let people know that I can't talk and comment and type at the same time because I'm not a robot. I can't do it. I have to be
You're not
focused. Focused. I'm not Katie. That's right. That's why we love having Katie on here, because she is so good at what she does, and she probably doesn't even think too much about it. She just does it. It's not like a wow, I wish I was that diverse. Amazing.
And don't think that I'm multitasking. That's not true, because I can't 100%. It's all focused, like 25 here, 25 there, 25 there. So it's not I can't. I'm a woman who actually says that there's no such thing as multitasking for anybody. 100% focus on multiple things just doesn't happen. You may be doing different things at once, but I'm just saying. So don't be so hard on yourself, Dave.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. All right. So let's move on. And this is we're getting on to the next pillar, and that is, or the next step to reversing the whole idea of self-esteem. And this is about self-assertion. Self-assertion. Now, I'll give you guys a kind of a scenario here, because I'm not saying that you need to be angry all the time and tell people what to do, because that's not what self-assertion is about. All right. Self-assertion in this sense is really about the fact that you are somebody who will what you believe in. And I mean, my entire schooling career, I was known as the good person, right? I mean, I grew up in a very, very in a wonderful family, and we had really good morals in the family and everything like that. I went to church. I was all that. I never got drunk. I never did any of that. I was a good guy. But it never was a problem to me if somebody tries to force me to do something I didn't want to do. And I was very open about that. And if something crossed my line that I didn't agree with, I would stand out and say, I am not going there at all. And it doesn't even have to be about moral and being moral. The other day, I was on a panel with something completely separate, and an idea was put forward, and I just said, no, I'm sorry, I'm not being part of that. It's not something I want to do. It's not something I'm interested in. Count me out. And it's because I need to be assertive. And this is what you need to do as well in your life. But as you can see, it has a parallel in your business. If you just accept everybody into your business, and you accept all the behaviors that go into your business, and you don't have standards, you don't assert yourself when you need to, your business is just going to collapse. And if you think you're pleasing everybody, you're doing it because you're pleasing everybody, that is definitely somebody who's got very low self-esteem. You don't want that. You don't want to please everybody. You understand that there are rules and regulations people need to follow, because otherwise you can't follow anything. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I don't want to live in anarchy. I don't want to live in anarchy. That's my choice. If you want to live in anarchy, that's fine. Go and find yourself a community that enjoys that type of thing. But not me. I won't have it. It's not something I stand for at all. And there are certain things I will not cross the line with. So that's about self-assertion, and I'm speeding it up here a bit because we're coming to the close of the hour. But coming to number five, and this is the practicing living for a purpose. Living for a purpose. Now, this is interesting because if you have a person that works for a 9-to-5 job, typically, and most people don't enjoy their 9-to-5 job, that's just a given. I think everybody can understand that. You will find that they have a very negative look on life. You will find that they'll have a very, very, their energy is very low. They are not all that positive all the time, all right, especially if they have their job. But you find somebody like an entrepreneur, like Katie or Jamie or Pops or Robert or Maria or people out there who understand what they can achieve. They have a better look on life because they understand what they can achieve. Sometimes you can't see it because you're full of anticipation of what the next move is. You're just so eager to help as many people as possible because that's what an entrepreneur does. All right. And so living with a purpose is important. And if you don't know what that purpose is, ultimately, it's got to be about helping other people. That's what I believe fundamentally. Living with a purpose is helping other people. Honestly, if you have a different definition, but that is the way I see it. If somebody is an entrepreneur, they are looking for ways to help as many people as they possibly can. That's the way I see it. And I'm saying that because it makes complete sense. If you can help a lot of people get what they want, you'll get what you want. You will get what you want if you can help a lot of people get what they want. And Zig Ziglar said that. He was very famous for that. And he was one of the most kindest people you could ever hear. And if you have the time, go and listen to him and you'll see what I mean. Zig Ziglar was amazing. Does anybody want to say anything?
Yeah, it took me a long time to figure out what my purpose was, and I'm still trying to figure it out, really. Just it gets better. It's like I kind of have the idea because I do want to help others, and it's just coming down to like the nitty gritty of the whole thing. Ooh, an old camper just came in. That's cool. Anyways, yeah, that was my squirrel moment. But anyways, yes, it did take me a while, but it's starting to become like this thing. It's becoming like a thing. You know, instead of a thought, it's actually turning into something. So it's pretty exciting.
I do want to.
I kind of equate purpose with a why. I'm going to be real quick. I kind of equate a purpose with a why. If you kind of know why you want these things or why you have your purpose and how you're going to do it, they kind of intertwine with each other. And actually on Saturday, I want to share a 7-step or 7-deep process in our workshop to find your true why. Some of us don't go deep enough. We think we know what our why is until you use this 7-step process, 7-step deep process to find your why. And I'm going to share this on Saturday in the workshop. It's going to be really cool.
Awesome. And I want to say also, I'm just speeding up for the sake of time, Pops. I'm not discounting what you said. I appreciate what you said. I'm just, I'm trying to be conscious of it. Okay. The sixth pillar is the practice of personal integrity. And notice I said personal integrity. You're not living up to the integrity of somebody else's. You're living up to your personal integrity. Now, when I spoke about self-assertiveness, that's the ability to stand up, to speak out, to say things, right? This is about practicing personal integrity. Meaning, for an example, one of the things that I really admire Pat Patterson for is that he doesn't want to take credit for somebody else's post. That's his personal integrity. Do you understand what I mean? So we need lines in our life where we have integrity. And generally speaking, when you have good integrity, it resonates with a lot of people. So we don't want to lie, we don't want to cheat, we don't want to steal, we don't want to be thieving bastards. We want to respect life, and we don't want to get there and take the shortcut. We don't want to take shortcuts, because if we're taking shortcuts, what we're really saying is that we're not prepared to put in the hard work. Okay? And this is where integrity comes into play. This is why when somebody comes to me and says, Dave, I want to start a business, what do I need to do? One of the very first things I say is, it's going to take hard work, and the only person you can blame is yourself. And I need you to understand that this is not a get-rich thing. I wish so many other marketers would say the same thing instead of making a post that says make $3,000 in 5 seconds. It doesn't work like that. I'm not saying it can't happen. People have made that much money in 3 seconds, but only because there's a lot of backdrop and they're not being entirely honest. And this is where I feel that integrity comes into it. So you need to be upfront with people. And if you can attack these 6 steps, I believe that you'll start to reverse the process of low self-esteem. Now, I want to give you a cheat. I'm going to give you a cheat. Ironically, I'm going to give you a cheat to help you with your self-esteem. If you're battling with these steps and you don't know how to enforce them. Years ago, decades ago, when I was a teenager, a long time ago when the sky was blue, I used to suffer from depression immensely. It was a big problem in my life. And I'm not even kidding. I wanted to kill myself. It was bad because life was so awful to me and I felt the victim. And I went to go and see a minister and I spoke to him about my problem. He didn't talk with me long. He just wanted to see me and say hi and introduce me and that sort of thing. He called me up and said, Dave, would you like to come help us at the church? I said, okay, sure. So I said, okay, fine. And I'm young. I'm a teenager. I'm full of energy and whatnot. And he says to me, I need these tables set up. Can you set them up for me? Because I don't know how long this is going to take. And I set those tables up so quickly. I did it in 5 minutes. It was so quickly. I said, I'm done. He says, really? Can you put the chairs up as well? So I did the chairs. Would you mind if, we got some catering? Yes, I'll help. He got me involved with helping a community. Now, this is where the cheat comes in. I want to make a challenge to you. Either I would encourage you to get involved with some form of community where you can help out at your church or a club or something where you can actually help. Or I want you to try and do something amazing for somebody else, a stranger, a friend, a family member. Do something for somebody else without expecting anything back. In fact, make it a rule that you will not accept anything back. It's going to be awkward at first. It's going to feel weird at first. So if somebody says to you, if you say, look, I noticed that you need some groceries, maybe you can buy some groceries for somebody, buy them some extra stuff, and you can say, look, I just thought you guys could have this. And if they say, oh, well, how much was it? Say, it's a gift. And leave it at that. And don't go overboard here. I'm not telling you to go nuts here. But I'm saying whenever you see somebody in need, do something to help them out. Do something that's outside of something that you would not normally do. Do something radical. Do something new. Go out of your way. What this is going to do for you, if you do it often enough, you're going to start developing a good habit. And this good habit is exactly what Pops mentioned right at the beginning. It'll be a habit of gratitude. Because if there's one thing I know, and this is actually something I learned in when I was involved with Empower, and somebody said this. If there's one thing I do know, if you have $100 and you give it to somebody on the street who needs it, in that second, in that moment, at that very moment you are giving that money, it is impossible to feel bad. It's impossible to feel resentment in that moment. And it's going to feel weird at first. But if you do it enough times, your life will change. And here's the thing about business, right? We say this all the time, that in business, we are about giving value. We are about giving value. Freaking roach that big. Okay. We are about
That was
value.
funny.
Jeez. Man, that thing's huge. It's got a heartbeat. Anyway.
I don't think I've ever seen Dave move that fast.
I'm going for the replay on that one.
Okay, cool. All right. Time to delete. Anyway, so no, it was just a surprise. I don't know what the heck happened there.
And can
I
add a
saw him
little
move that fast once. Saw him move that fast once when he dove into his fat burger.
Yeah. Okay. So
Can I add a little,
what
little
was that?
story? Can I add a little story in there, Dave? I got time to do that.
I
real
just
quick.
wanted to finish my thought here.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go
ahead.
The whole idea about actually, you carry on, then I carry on. When I gotta think about what I was saying. Jesus,
What Dave's saying is totally true, because a lot of Dave's the only one that really knows this. I did this last year. You know, around Christmas time, we had a member that was struggling financially, and I donated some money to them, and nobody in the community knew about it. I didn't want recognized for it. I didn't want any praise for it. I didn't want anything from it. You know, I just, out of the kindness of my heart, I just knew they were struggling and wanted to help. And for the whole last year, Dave's the only one that's ever known about it. And just by doing that act of kindness made me feel great about it, because I wasn't looking for a pat on the back. Good job, Jamie. You know, I wasn't looking for everybody to say, "Oh, I can't believe you did that." I was just trying to help my neighbor out, trying to help my friend out. That's it. That's all it was about. You know, I wasn't looking for recognition about what I did or anything like that, because it's not about that. It's about helping the next person out. I don't know if I can go on and on with this with Dave being gone.
Well, I got a story too. Well, what I did too is I had this thing about money where if I spent it, I would lose it, which is kind of funny because we all know that money, well, most of us should know that money is kind of like an energy thing where it always comes back. It's like a boomerang. It always comes back. If you have a current job, you know you're going to get paid, you're going to get money, right? So anyways, I had that scarcity type attitude towards money, that it's not enough to go around. So what I did as an exercise for myself, being selfish in a way, but it also benefits somebody else, is that I decided to take a $20 bill, and every time I filled up my car, I would put a $20 bill inside the credit card slot. I don't care who took it. I don't even know if they were rich, if they were poor, whatever. It didn't really matter. It wasn't for them per se. It was just for me letting go of money and proving to myself that I will see that $20 come back. And sometimes I got paid double or triple, and of unexpected money, mind you, unexpected. This is when I was getting my business started, right? It was really unexpected. So I think that's a really cool exercise to do, just to let go of money kind of thing. Dave, how's the roach situation?
Wow, man. I think, geez, that was unexpected.
Did you write it off in the sunset or what?
I don't know what the heck this thing is. Honestly, I'm not even kidding. It was that big. This big. I could hear the wings flapping. You know, the wings, and it flaps and everything. But yeah, you know, what I was going to say is that in your getting back to the point, in your business, we always tell people that we've got to give value. Give value, give value. But the problem is we go into the stilted view of thinking that the value is free, but it's not. When you give value, you are giving somebody some information that's worth something. That's why so many marketers out there will say, I'm giving some training. I'm giving this $250 worth of training away. I want you to understand that this is so important for you. And in your business, when you are telling people and you are giving stuff away, you can actually say, this is actually worth so much money. You can tell people what it's worth. You know, and this is, and if you, the whole idea behind giving and giving and giving to people without expecting anything back is that this is what's going to happen inside of your business. When it becomes a habit in your life, it becomes a habit everywhere. One of the things that really helped me in this industry was I was support for a company that Ryan, my sponsor, had started. He had asked me to be support and to be the support guy because he was getting so many emails. And I started to answer these emails and to be the support. And I did it every single day. And I developed this habit of helping people. So when people reach out to me, my instant response is just to help. And this is what helped me to get that going. And I want to encourage you, if you are serious about your business, you need to be in the giving people value business. You need to be giving people something that's worth something, not something that's just free, something that's actually worth something. When you give somebody food because they are hungry, it costs you something. And you gave it to that person to help them. And this is what we need to adopt in our own businesses when we are helping other people. And this is why your business is a reflection of who you are. And we all know of people, Katie, Pops, Jamie, most of us here know of people in this industry that actually have made people really upset because of the way that they were treated, because they just felt like they were listening to a drill instructor all the time. And they feel like they've been taken advantage of. And you don't want to have that for your business. You want to have people appreciate who you are. Now, I understand that there are going to be haters and there are going to be people that don't like you, but that just comes with the territory. Because some people just like to troll for the sake of trolling. We all have had that happen to us, so we know what that feels like. But if I can tell you that the one way to reverse low self-esteem is to get into the habit of helping somebody else, I promise you it will change your life dynamic forever. Are you a taker or are you a giver? And if you take more than you give, you need to change some things. And I'm not talking about if you're a mother or a father with your kids when you're giving, because you give all the time to your kids. I'm talking about other people that you wouldn't normally help. Do something courageous and amazing for somebody out there. Share something of value. And we have gone over time. We are 8 minutes over the hour. This is my fault completely because of the roach. That was the size of my head.
Do we get time and a half?
And
overtime pay? Just kidding.
The heck is this thing? All right.
Well, I'll say goodnight to everyone
Okay.
so Dave can get that leash and he can take his roach for a walk. Have a great week, everybody, and those in the Saturday group. We'll see you there. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Pops. And Jamie?
It's Attack of the Monster Roaches. I just want to say good night to everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us as always, and take responsibility for you because you're the only one that can change this.
Cool thing. All right. Yeah, Katie, say something. Say something. We need to go through this process.
Say something. We need to go through this process.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, cool. Thank you. That was so deep. The velvet fog has lifted. I don't know what. That is just amazing. It's like the cheapest college ever. Anyway, so guys, thank you so much for joining us here. We appreciate every single one of you. Remember, you are worth something. You are special. You have value. You are not a doorstop. Make a decision to change your life in an instant. All right, don't delay. Just start it immediately and become that person for other people. So we will catch you same time next week. You have a great evening. Don't forget Wisdom Wednesday on Wednesday. Jamie's Hangout on Thursday. It was amazing. I saw the replay. If you haven't gone and seen it, go and check it out. And we will see you then. Cheers, bro.